All right, here we are. Greetings, good people. TMOT back again for not another drive time, but we're doing a town hall. You will have the opportunity to ask questions if you wish. I am going to make way to get you some chat up so I can hear what's on your hearts and what's on your mind. So let me get here and get the chat window up, and we will get started. All right, welcome there. Want to be glad to have you on the show. Okay, so I'm not going to be long tonight, but let me just do a few house cleaning things. You know, I am Derrick Grayson. I am running for U.S. Senate here in the great state of Georgia. You can check out my YouTube channel. You can check out Twitter, Facebook, all TMOTOFGA. My website for Senate is GraysonForGeorgia.com, and that is GraysonForGA.com. Support the campaign. If you can't donate, volunteer. We need all the volunteers we can get, primarily for getting the word out there and keeping people informed and up to speed. So the last few weeks, I've been talking about a number of things. Tonight, however, I want to walk you through a video, excellent video. Now, before I get into that, I want y'all to hear me for a minute, because sometimes people think that things are beyond the realm of possibilities. Many people that I know are good people. There are people I don't know that are good people, but there are bad people in the world. And when I try to explain certain things to some people, they look at me like, man, you look like you fell off the truck. You sound like Boo Boo the Fool. They just cannot fathom it. I was just having a conversation with some people about Abraham Lincoln. And there are many people out there that support the Confederacy. That's not my heartache. I don't care. But I understand history, and I've told people many times I am a student of history. And there's one particular guy I said who continues to bring up a statement that Lincoln made earlier on in his life. And the point I had to make to him is Lincoln evolved. When will you stop carrying yourself like a Neanderthal? Evolve, my brother. You know, come into the mainstream of understanding. And what I want you to understand before we get into this video called Corona, which, man, it beautifully in 9 minutes connects all of the dots, okay? Things that I have been telling you about for the last 6 months that has been going on in this country. And it ties other things together as well. It's beautifully done. Tune out of Trump if Trump makes you sick, because like I tell everybody, what I am about to talk about and many things that I talk about, we all have those things in common, whether you like me or not. Because you know what? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had to tell somebody who, this one particular person, when I checked him, I said, you know, I believe that you are just a Negro hating individual, because, you know, you just love to go on and on about, you know, Lincoln wasn't this and Lincoln wasn't that. And I keep trying to explain to the man, Lincoln evolved, and Lincoln is responsible for the emancipation of Negroes, as I like to say, and the 13th Amendment, and the things that the man said. And I'm just paraphrasing, almost a year to the day before the Civil War ended, Lincoln in April, I think it was April 4th, the war ended, I believe, April 9th. Lincoln said, if it is God's will, now the man obviously believes in God. You know, we hear Trump talking about God as well. He don't believe in God. Well, you know what? We ain't been sending troops to war. He's been trying to bring them on. But anyway, getting back to Lincoln. If it is God's will. So here's a man who believes in God. That this, and I'm using my words, but I want you to understand what he's. I could pull up what he said, but you know, hey, I'm gonna go from memory. If it is God's will that slavery goes away, man, I can't take credit for it. And the North nor the South expected what would come out of this. Nobody. He also goes on to say, and if we have to pay for our complicity in this evil institution, he didn't use that word, you know, so be it, is essentially what he was saying. But God's will be done. Slavery ended. And the reason I have these conversations with these folks is because they want to insist that the war was not about slavery, which is complete BS. It was. Well, it was about taxes. Well, connect the dots, but I'm not going to rehash all of that. So I want to take you guys into this video. Please, I'm telling you, pay attention. You're going to love it if you focus on things the way that I do. So let me share my screen. And I may stop it here and there to give you a little feedback, but it's a 9-minute video. So I may be with you for 20 minutes. Okay. All right, here we go. And don't forget, GraysonForGeorgia.com. Let me see if there are any comments so far. Let me move this over here and just say hello to Sleepless in the Carolinas. Hey, thank you for the best wishes. Want to Baba. Hey, they are also supporting NAMBLA. Okay. Tasty Brown. Hey, Mr. Grayson, what is your opinion on the couple that defended themselves? You know, I put a post up there about self-defense because, you know, I get a lot of people that come at me about, you know, what about turning on a cheek? I say, boy, you know, people love to take the Bible out of context, but I may read that for you guys at the end of this. So let's jump to this video. Okay, here we go. I hope y'all can see my screen. COVID 911.
Stop what you're doing. I'm about to show you something you already suspect deep inside, but can't explain. The United States of America is currently in the midst of a war. Not the kind when one country attacks another with missiles or tanks. Not like warplanes dropping bombs on our Pacific Fleet.
Let me stop that. Many think that the war is between the races. Nah, you've been lied to. It is not a race war. There is not a war between the races. You're being told that there is one, but there isn't. There is not. But there is a civil war going on in Washington, D.C. between the powers that be, the left and the right, the establishment, with the deep state in the middle. And who else is in the middle fighting them on three sides? Donald Trump. I know you don't want to hear it, but like I said, it is what it is.
Not like a hostile neighbor launching a surprise invasion across our borders. Instead, we face a cruel and merciless enemy who invented a whole new type of war, one that threatens us now more than all the bombs in the world. They are motivated by pure greed and inconceivable cruelty, and have been silently reversing all that is good for so long that we became lulled into a state of self-destructive compliance.
Inconceivable cruelty. I think that was the word he used. Remember now, evil has never gone too far from man. And this country, the people in government, because slavery was legal in this country, you had to return a slave if he fled, not send him on about his way and say, man, I'm glad you got free out of that. They were bound by law to return you. Okay. So if this country legally could engage in that and think it's okay, and of course, Lincoln said, if slavery is all right, ain't nothing all right. Okay. So Don't think that man is not capable of doing today what they did in the 19th century, the 18th century, the 17th century, going all the way back to the 15th century in this country when slavery first started.
While they tore us apart and robbed us blind. When patriots took back key branches of the U.S. government in 2016, a light was turned on to the vast corruption network that had infiltrated into the highest positions of power across every state. Only then did ordinary citizens begin to realize how close we had come to the end of it all. But first, we must endure one last painful battle that will touch every citizen, no matter who they are. Right now, the country is being torn apart by the biggest political hoax and coordinated mass media disinformation campaign in living history. You may know it as COVID-19. Let me tell you a story.
Before he tells a story, let me explain. I don't wear a mask. I go out every day. I have gone out every day since this started. I'll also tell you that I have watched doctors from all around the world, and particularly those here in the country, talking about how they have been forced to list deaths of COVID. I'm sorry, to list deaths that are unrelated to corona, my word, as COVID. Anyway, let's get back to it, and we'll talk about the nursing homes shortly.
In 2015, as directed by the globalist criminal corruption network known as the Deep State, President Barack Obama authorized millions in funding for the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the location now understood to be the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Understand something. Here's the history. That research was being done here in this country, all right, in Texas, and I think it was North Carolina or South Carolina. But some people got together in government and said, you know what? We don't want people making viruses more virulent, more infectious. Now, let's shut that down for right now. So when that happened, that money, that 3.7 million, and Fauci funneled that over to Wuhan. Now, you were told that this came from a wet market. No, it did not. It came from a lab. China has already admitted it. So it's not a lie. But when I told people that, they told me I was stupid for listening to Trump. But Trump warned us, just like he did when he said he was being spied on.
Research carried out here was to provide the agent for a global biological attack on a scale never before seen. One that would be timed for release within an election year, starting the very day unsubstantiated efforts to impeach President Trump fell apart.
Everything failed. And back in March, I started posting on Facebook and tweeting. One man, our economy, one election. I said everything that you will see moving forward is about that. The spying failed. The collusion failed. The obstruction failed. The impeachment failed. All failed. What's next? We got to pull out the big guns. That's right. Let's keep going.
With their base of operations in the Democrat establishment, the Deep State Shadow Corporation embarked on a coordinated irregular warfare insurgency with multiple aims, all under the cover of a global pandemic they themselves manufactured for this purpose. Enabled by their owned and controlled corporate media monopoly, they instigated a heavy-handed and unjustifiable nationwide shutdown to reverse Trump's many economic and unemployment gains.
California just announced that they are getting ready to shut down again. That's right. They don't want no coming back. No, they do not.
With Democrat-controlled states suffering the harshest restrictions in the country, Trump's energetic rallies were halted, hiding from view the surging nationwide passion for his galvanizing message, while Democratic presidential frontrunner Joe Biden was able to avoid interviews and debates where left-leaning voters would.
Trump, as of day before yesterday, Joe Biden has done 0 interviews, press conferences. Trump has done 59. 0. 59.
Would not be shown his obvious inability to govern, or the emerging Ukrainian bribery scandal that earned his family millions in illicit kickbacks by abusing his office. The next major...
All of these pieces that this young man is putting together, I have verified independently and read the details, watched the videos, listened to the audio.
Advantage of the pandemic for the deep state was the case made to the public for mail-in voting, a highly insecure practice proven to be rampant with fraud, just as the public saw.
When I first got my ballot, before they started talking about it on the news, first thing I did was post, tear up your paper ballots. If you don't want to be a victim, tear it up and go in person. They don't want you to show up. They want you to mail those ballots in. Why would you do that?
In one such example, when a former Philadelphia judge pled guilty to stuffing ballot boxes after being paid by what he called a Democrat political consultant. With a rapidly rising death toll needed to make the case to the public for even harsher control, normal influenza deaths for the year were recorded as COVID-19, artificially inflating the numbers. But this was only the beginning. When this did not yield enough fatalities, the deep state initiated a murderous plan to defy federal guidelines and to move infected patients into nursing homes where the highest risk age group could be found in large numbers. The deep state governors of New York.
Research was done in Italy where they confirmed the median age for those who have died from corona, real corona deaths, was 73. Secondly, they had other issues that complicated their circumstance, making them susceptible to death if they contracted corona. And the primary underlying ailment was lung disease. Lung disease. This is what they pointed out. This is what they showed. So where do they start placing these sick people with corona? In the nursing homes, where we have the most vulnerable citizens of all. These are facts. And I hear people keep saying, well, the hospitals are overflowing and this and that. Do you remember that ship that went up to New York? They never put a single soul on that ship. Why was he sending them to nursing homes? Not a single soul. Let's continue.
New Jersey, California, Pennsylvania, Michigan oversaw what can only be described as a genocide of our elderly loved ones, even as
all Democrats.
The quickly constructed field hospitals and medically equipped Navy ships stood mostly empty. This horrendous act cost the lives of over 50,000 people, but gave the insurgency a death toll that would stoke the public fear needed to push ahead with their goals. In these dark times, when people had little else but the comfort of community in their faith, this too was forcibly halted when simply going to church was banned across the country under the guise of public safety.
You got preachers getting locked up for going to church. During the Black Death, who do you think were out there helping the people? It was a church. You know, them long masks looked like those two spies, the one that was black and the one that was white. They had on those. They were made out of leather. That's what they wore, and they went out and they helped the people. They did not get shut in. They walked on the power and the spirit of the Lord with the Holy Ghost, that Holy Ghost power. But we got preachers standing on that, still going out and doing the work. And he got arrested.
Depression and loneliness became the new epidemic, all designed to create the social conditions needed for what was to come next in their despotic plan to fracture the nation and hold on to power. Immediately upon reports of a flattening curve and a reduction in new cases, the mysterious murder of George Floyd hit the headlines. What was presented to the public as a routine instance of racially motivated police brutality turned out to be a strange and coincidental series of events involving two men who once knew each other, working security in a nightclub. This event provided the justification for the next chapter in their coordinated insurgency against the United States. The goal was to inflame civil unrest along racial lines on an emotional platform of social justice. A divided house cannot stand, and the enemy knew this all too well. Black Lives Matter was funded and designed by the corrupt Democrat establishment as a social weapon to draw crowds of well-meaning protesters into harm's way, using them as human shields while they pushed the savage insurrection.
Now you saw those white people there. First you saw the fist, Black Lives Matter. So the Negroes, and the one woman put out a tweet, a video that she is a confirmed Marxist. Probably don't even know what Marxism is, but I'm going to give her the benefit that she does. So Marxism comes from a guy by the name of Karl Marx, who was a bona fide, undisputed, documented, and undeniable racist. Yet her movement is patterned after them. So you see how some Negroes can be lulled into believing any damn thing, and how our young people can be lulled into believing anything. But of course, they did that through the Department of Education, Jimmy Carter.
On city streets.
Oh, the point I was making. So they got BLM to be the impetus of putting the word out that this is a race war, but you got all them young white kids coming from Antifa, and that's coming up next, doing all the damage, inciting the Negroes to burn down their own doggone places.
Was intensified even further by folding in the violent paramilitary group Antifa, who were given a free pass by Democrat mayors and governors.
A free pass. Why do you think wasn't nobody getting locked up? If it had been a bunch of Negroes out there doing that, they'd have been going to jail. That's right. But they stood down. I told you, I work with cops. They were given a free pass to do what they were doing.
To loot stores, smash up small businesses, and assault innocent bystanders. The public was shown in explicit detail how Democrat leaders refused to protect local citizens, choosing instead to provide an open road for the anarchists to destabilize civil society, allowing the innocent to be indiscriminately injured and terrorized. Knowing that lawless chaos would accelerate their aims, they began calling for the elimination of police, while evicting the National Guard, who were made available to protect the public against the worst of the violence.
Now, this is what another thing. Everybody keeps thinking that Trump is this heavy-handed dictator, and they don't understand. Look, I'm going to tell you, it is amazing the lack of knowledge that people have concerning history, government, and current events. Number one, local police jurisdictions have a duty to quell violence first. Then, and I'm talking about mayors, city managers, if they have a police department. Then it falls to the governor. Now, the National Guard is controlled by governors and the president, by both. And governors can call up the National Guard in times of national or statewide emergencies. So what is it then that Trump is talking? That takes us back to two acts, Posse Comitatus, and I know I'm giving you a little history, Posse Comitatus and the Insurrection Act. Posse Comitatus stands in front of the Insurrection Act, basically saying you can't use the U.S. military on our soil without giving local law enforcement an opportunity to do what they need to do, including local police forces on up to the National Guard. Am I clear? Now, if they can't get the job done, which is what Trump says, if governors don't get out and do what needs to be done, I will activate under the Insurrection Act. That's what that's about. But you know what? I couldn't tell nobody that. They want to hear it. As soon as the word Trump comes out, they shut down. Don't want to hear nothing. Don't want to know nothing. They just want to keep believing the ignorance rather than trying to understand. Let's keep going.
DC Mayor Muriel Bowser even called for the elimination of the White House fence just days after a close call by rioters who attempted to breach the perimeter.
Why would you call for the elimination of the fence? There's a black lady with big orange hair who just said either yesterday or the day before that the destruction of personal property, which can be replaced, does not constitute violence. How stupid can you be? And I hate when I see people make such idiotic statements and they put them. If you're as old as I am, you remember back in the day, whenever something happened in the hood, we used to complain, man, why they got to get the dumbest Negro on the street to interview? Because that's what they would always do. Them white folks would come up there with their cameras and one of the, boo got shot, boo got shot. I remember Sean Hannity, just when he was here on the radio, had a little thing going where, you know, it was like a little promo, boo got shot, boo got shot. Oh my God, it was funny. But that's what we used to say in the hood. Now you got this woman sitting up there on national TV talking about the destruction of property. Because it can be replaced, it doesn't constitute violence. Lord have mercy.
And on June 22nd, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff proposed a House bill to amend United States Code Title 18 that would prohibit the use of military force in the event of civil unrest.
All of these acts are things to preclude a solution, the proper solution. Create a problem, a crisis, and provide the solution, but they want the solution to be their solution, not the right solution according to the law. That's why we are a republic and not a democracy, mob rule. We have a system of laws in place to protect the least of us, the individual.
An obvious attempt to weaken the commander-in-chief's ability to defend the public from the planned insurrection, which was intended to play out over the weeks and months leading up to the election.
Attorney General William Barr has appointed the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut to investigate.
The pandemic was also providing cover of a different kind. Taking place behind the scenes at the Justice Department is a far-reaching investigation into the Obama administration's weaponization of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to spy on Trump and his associates during the transition of power. With evidence now emerging that Obama officials, including Joe Biden and Obama himself, colluded to frame General Michael Flynn, they used social distancing guidelines to hold grand juries and give witnesses the cover of health fears to avoid honoring court-ordered subpoenas.
Nobody wants to believe that. But it's documented. It's undeniable. Now maybe you'll understand when I say verifiable, undeniable, and documented on government letterhead. I had to explain to one individual that does not mean government approval. When I say that, get an understanding. What do I always say? Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And I'm gonna tell you, if y'all are watching, and because people, man, I wish you were in my state, man, I wish more people could. Are you sharing this? Because see, why are we doing this? You could be putting it out there. Hey, man, you need to come and get some of this. He ain't just playing the video, he's explaining it. And it's like whenever I share a post, I take my time to explain what's in the post so that you get the context, all right? But when people click share, They leave everything that was written behind, leaving the next person to see something, and they won't have a damn clue what it is that we're talking about. Some people need it broken down to them. And I don't mind doing that. That's what I do.
What you are witnessing is the dying breaths of a hidden enemy responsible for over a century of embedded corruption that has been slowly destroying our republic from the inside. They divided us along racial, gender, and political lines. They created reasons for us to go to war. They made...
Note, you are seeing black and white people. You are seeing Democrats and Republicans, a la George Bush. And we have some rhinos that I am running against that will be on the ballot in November. Doug Collins and Kelly Loeffler. They are not there to help, not Trump. They are there for the deep state and for the establishment. And don't get me started on the Republican Party. All right, just don't get me started. The establishment does not care for me because I do not carry water for anyone but those that are truly in need. Hell, I'll push water uphill for you. You know, if I know you're struggling and you really want help and are sincere. But for some folks, when I see they ain't trying to get it, I don't push water uphill. No, sir, not without a bucket.
International trade agreements that brought us no benefit.
And if you don't understand how China was our backbone, how all of our jobs went over there, going back to George Bush Sr. being signed by Bill Clinton, NAFTA, the first trade agreement to gut America, you will never get it if you can't see that.
But allow them to steal our vast wealth, driving us into a state of perpetual economic decay. They flooded our streets with deadly drugs to manufacture a devastating epidemic of addiction and mass incarceration. And they did it all with impunity while their completely controlled mainstream media assets.
Do you see Fox in there? You see Fox? Do you see it? Do you see it?
Kept us distracted and focused on everything else except our one true enemy. The 2020 U.S. elections are like none we have ever experienced. COVID-19 is being sold as a natural event, but we see now it is an attempt by enemies of humanity to hold on to power.
Natural event. This was not naturally occurring. In other words, it didn't jump from a bat to a person. Came out of a lab. It was not naturally occurring. Understand that. Oh, you don't think people are capable, do you? You don't think these idiots here with African garb on are capable. You can't see that they are pandering to get the Negro vote and solidify the lie that we have a race problem in this country with police officers, and we do not.
After November, they stand to lose it all, but they will do everything to keep the crisis alive and the people in fear. To win, we must remember what made us strong, so that true justice can finally return to what is, and always will be, the most exceptional republic ever to exist in all of human history. May God bless America.
May God bless America. If you have studied Roman history, the Greeks, their form of government, the Roman Empire, it makes it easier for you to understand where we are and who we are as Americans. We overcame slavery, but we entered right into another one in 1913 with the Federal Reserve, which was the beginning of the taking over of American prosperity and wealth and transferring it into the hands of a few. But they have you divided as Democrat, Republican, as black, white, male, female, or other. Okay? They got you all jacked up, and it's intentional. And when I preached Sunday, I said to my congregation, and that was one that didn't like it, when I said, who is responsible? Just think, who is responsible? And I named some specific things. And see, that's an ugly truth. And they didn't want to accept that. They didn't want to hear that, because then I gut punch them with, how can you say you love God when you support something that is clearly written as anti-God? But you know what? I'm going to read this post that I did about, and I'm going to pull it up on my screen so you can see it. And then I'm going to close this show out, because we got another show coming up, the Round Table, where we have Catherine Bernard, Hank Sullivan, and Alex Johnson, who will come on and speak to us about whatever is on their mind. And, you know, it's something worthwhile that, you know, I would suggest you check out. It starts at 8 o'clock. So let me share my screen, and you can read this with me, but I put this out there earlier. So we'll read it together. I get challenged on this all of the time by anti-Christians and even Christians who are looking to find fault when I speak of self-defense. Even up to dirt napping someone, that means putting them in the ground. Whether you are a citizen or a cop being the intended victim of an assault, you have the right to self-defense. So this is going back to the question that I was asked earlier, what I thought about the couple that defended their property. You have a right to self-defense, even if you are a cop. But a cop is called to a higher standard in how that is exercised, because they have a badge and a gun. Most citizens do not. Let's go on. The misunderstanding is based on Matthew chapter 5. And it reads, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him also the other. See, that's what's taken out of context. All right. And let me go on and just read what I wrote. That'll make it clear. The context is not to seek vengeance. And see, this is why I tell people, read what's before, read what's after. Get an understanding so that you know, because somebody will grab that part, hey, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And that's like, hey, man, yeah, we're going to go get us some vengeance. No, I don't think so. That ain't what God had in mind. This in no way implies that anyone, cop or citizen, may stand and allow another to unrighteously beat, take your life or the lives around you. I hope that's clear. Number 3, it certainly does not mean that if your life is in danger and you are unarmed, you must remain in place to be smitten on the cheek either. That means if I can get away, I'm going to get away. Christ ain't telling you to stand there and let a person come and slap you upside the head, the cheek, or anything else. If you can get away, get away. Slapping you on the cheek is not the same as taking a beat down that could result in death, nor is it the same as standing still and accepting a bullet to the brain. Yes, I am a Christian, but yes, I will also defend life. That is not vengeance, it is self-defense. I have also said and acknowledged that vengeance belongs to God, as he declared in Deuteronomy 32:35, and Paul reaffirms in Romans 12:19. This is one reason I oppose the death penalty in the hands of men. Just one reason. A lot of people get upset with me, especially conservatives. Well, they say they're conservative, because I don't support the death penalty. I explain to them I am a Christian first. Get that. Get that. And I will not seek vengeance if I survive the event. Don't go back. And a little quick story. I got my butt beat by this girl one time and went back home crying, got me a little baseball bat. My dad said, boy, where you going? And I told him what happened. He said, boy, put that bat down. Deal with it where you got it. Don't ever go back. So, that was that. I don't know why I keep looking over there. Deuteronomy. Here's God. Vengeance is mine and recompense. That's the paying back. Okay. That's the get back. He said that's his too. Romans. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. But it is written, for it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. In that context, I have said, if anyone slaps me, you don't get a bullet. I did this thing where I was saying, I see somebody, getting ready to throw a Molotov cocktail at me, you get a bullet. If I see him with a brick getting ready to toss it at me, you get a bullet. If I see you with a gun aimed at me, you get a bunch of bullets. But if somebody slaps me, you don't get a bullet. I'm going to tell you, hey, look what I got. Now, you need to step on now. Because I don't want you to get a bullet. And even if you get, anyway, let me finish reading. However, before you can slap me again on the other cheek, I will show you I am strapped and let you know that I don't have a third cheek, and neither the second or the first will be struck again. This is that part where if you continue, you do get a bullet. This is not hate. It is love in a sense. You get a choice. You see, George Floyd didn't get a choice. The Tulsa officer, Craig Johnson, look it up, the guy in the photograph right there, who just died from his injuries, he did not get a choice either. I say all of this to say the right to self-defense is a God-given right, and self-defense is not synonymous to revenge. Therefore, stop taking scripture out of context, savvy. And my final thought on that was, may he rest in peace. Speaking of the Tulsa officer, may he rest in peace, Craig Johnson, and his killer, who was a 3-time felony loser, 3 felony convictions, who did not get life under the 3-strike rule per Joe Biden's crime bill in 94, like many Negroes that I have personally seen receive. May he never see freedom upon the streets again. May he find Christ in prison and serve out his days and Christ inside the joint. Now that is my prayer. You kill an officer of the law, you don't get to walk the streets again. I'm sorry. You just don't. You just don't. They sacrifice much. They put their lives on the line. Every day they put on that uniform. Kill a cop, you don't get to walk the streets. And no, I do not support the death penalty. I'm sorry. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. See if there are any questions before I close out. Willie Bond is not a question, more of a statement. Thank you, Tasty Bacon. I want to leave that one alone. I think they are deliberately trying to starve us to death. $1,200 over the last few months. I think you shouldn't be taxed until you have a M worth of toys. Well, I don't know necessarily what that means, but I get where you're coming from. Tasted Bacon, yes, self-defense is correct, but vigilantes, no, they are not. And Willie Bond, again, hardest thing as a Christian is timing when Jesus cracked the whip. That's a good one. That's a good one. That was self-defense. Jesus Christ was defending his father's house, the temple, for they had turned it into a den of thieves. And so he cracked that whip, overturned the money changers' tables, and chased them out of his father's house. He was protecting his father's property. All right. Love you, Mr. Grayson. Peace, love. Ron Paul. Thank you very much, Willie Bond. All right, folks. I got to get ready for this next show. We'll be right back here. Please come and check out the roundtable. If you have questions, ask these people. They are very knowledgeable, a lot of information. How do you think I know all this stuff that I know? Because I read, I research, I follow other people, I take my time. Do you know every night, most nights that is, I will turn on the TV and put it to some documentary on streaming media because I hate commercials, on streaming media, and I will just let it just roll because I wake up on and off throughout the night and I hear things, learn things, et cetera, et cetera. Forever learning. The day you stop learning is the day you may as well be dead because you know what? You may as well be a rock because a rock can't do nothing. Peace out, folks. Ending this show. Don't forget to donate, even if it's $1. If 23 people watch, hey, donate $1 a piece. That's $23, right?